Every now and then, you have a horror film kind of come out of nowhere to become a surprising critical success. And in the 2010s, I think we've had maybe three films that have kind of crossed over that threshold of being not just kind of popular with horror fanatics, but also being really, really popular among the artistes out there. The tastemakers that write for the New Yorker and Chicago Sun-Times, all these folks. And I think looking at these three films, they're all very divergent. The first film was The Babadook, and I think that is legitimately a great, almost bordering on excellent film, which you should go see. The second is It Follows, which I think is a very, very good, bordering on great, but not quite there genre homage. And then, and this is the movie we're talking about today for 31 Days of Horror slash 31 Days of Halloween, day 30, is The Witch, which came out in 2015, directed by a guy named Robert Eggers. And people are absolutely just creaming their britches over how great this movie is. You got, I think on Metacritic it's like above 80, which is really unlikely for a horror film in the modern era. And everybody's praising it, saying it's one of the most effective horror films in years. Guys, this movie sucks. There's no way around it. I absolutely hate this movie. It's one of the most perplexing and befuddling critical darlings to come down the pipe in a long, long time. I just don't see what all the hype is about. Now, I could go on a long, long spiel about why I think critics enjoy this movie just because it's abstract and it doesn't have jump scares, but really, it's just a completely lazy and boring movie. Nothing happens over the course of 70 minutes. Basically, this is one of those films where, in lieu of actually having character development or memorable characters or a basic plot, it's basically just a bunch of people with Shakespearean accents out in the woods in almost pitch darkness, just running around going, yep, spooky things are afoot. And then maybe, if you're lucky, you might have like a quick 1 second shot of a wrinkly hand coming up. Or maybe like you see like a crow looking all menacing. Well, anyway, that goes on for, an hour and a half. Nothing at all happens. It's a dreadfully boring film. And to give you the rundown of the plot, trust me, it's as boring as it sounds. You got this family, they're out in New England in the Pilgrim days, and they get exiled for some reason. And they're very, very puritanical, and they build like a shack out in the woods, and you got a mom, and you got a dad, and you got a couple of kids. And the mom has a miscarriage, and the kids blame it on the elder sister, who they say is a witch. And you don't really know if she's a witch till the very end. And then a bunch of other spooky stuff happens, like the animals start dying. And there's a part where the little boy runs off in the woods and he makes out with Little Red Riding Hood. For real, that actually happens. And he gets like possessed or something, and then he dies. So the kids blame it on the elder sister again. And then the mom starts going crazy, and she blames it on the elder sister. And then the dad starts losing his mind. And eventually, before long, and basically all this is built up. The entire movie exists just to basically justify the last 10 minutes. So I'm going to give away the ending. I don't care. Spoiler. The ending. After all this back and forth about whether or not she's a witch or not, the kid's a witch. All right, she's been conjuring up the devil. She ends up running naked through the wilderness and cavorting with demonic spirits. And the family goat is not actually a goat, it's actually the devil himself. And it stands up and talks to her at the end. It's utterly goofy. Like, I have a hard time believing anyone takes this nonsense seriously, let alone they're calling it, something on par with The Exorcist or The Wicker Man. This movie is just absolute crap. I'm sorry, but I'm not seeing it. For one, there is no character development. You don't even have like any inkling or suspicion or any sort of even remote idea that this girl is actually some demonic spirit until the last 10 minutes. They do nothing to telegraph it. It would be one thing if the characters had multi-dimensions to them. They don't. They're all painfully one-dimensional. And like I said, the cinematography is terrible. Everything is dark. This is one of those films where their idea of ambiance is doing like really metallic shrieking violin chords when you're not expecting it. And you're like, oh, come on, guys. It doesn't even remotely work anymore. Oh, and the special effects are bad. So what sort of things do we have here as far as gross out effects? Well, we've got some images of, barnyard animals dissected. Well, I hope you like that. Oh, and there's a great like nightmare sequence where the mom is cradling a crow and it's suckling on her, but it's actually pecking her to death. Boy, that's horrifying. Not. But and the scene where the dad gets gored to death by a goat is a real humdinger. But that's it. There's nothing to this movie. I mean, there's no character development. The scares aren't there. You don't even really have like an exposition on why she becomes a witch, on what happened to the family. It's just really crappy stuff that sets up just 10 minutes. That's the whole point. It just keeps you guessing, and it's red herring after red herring, and then you get the denouement, and it's over and done with. What's so magical about that? There are no memorable characters in this movie. This is not a Wicker Man. This is not an Exorcist. It's not an Omen where you actually relate to a central character and they get thrust through, the madness, which is really where the great intellectual horror films succeed, is because you buy into that. You find a character who is the voice of reason and the voice of logic. You throw them out into absolute illogicity, and that's the horror. That's where it stems from. You don't get that in The Witch. It's just a bunch of people who are ignorant and creepy stuff happens, but you can't really see it because everything is so dark, and everybody talks in really, really goofy Amish accents, and everybody goes crazy at the end, and that's it. That's the movie. That's what's getting all this, generating such acclaim and aplomb from the artistes and the intellectuals and the really hardcore artsy fartsy horror fans out there. Guys, this movie is just bad. It's just pretentious. Well, I was about to say a curse word. I'm not going to say that. It's pretentious hipster nonsense. I'll leave it at that. Do not believe the hype whatsoever. It's just a crappy movie. And anyone who likes it, just don't be friends with them because they're completely pretentious, numb lug nuts as it is. And don't even get me started on the supposed like a metaphorical kind of film. Oh, it's about Calvinism. No, it's not. It's about people getting their boobies pecked off by crows. Come on, don't come with me with this nonsense about this thing having a deeper meaning about, Christianity and whatever. So yeah, needless to say, not a good movie. There are worse horror films out there. So I'm gonna give it a 1.5 Ghost Reese's Cups out of 4. It's bad. It's bad, and I want to hate it more because it's so vastly overrated. But I'll give it a fair shot and just say it's a very, very underwhelming film, made even more annoying because of all the needless critical praise. Don't buy the hype, folks. Do not buy it. The Witch is a terrible, terrible film. All right, and on that note, we've watched a couple of really bad modern horror films, but for day 31, the big grand finale, we actually have a horror film released earlier this year, which is awesome, that you do need to see. So stick around. We got a great palate cleanser, and we're going to wrap this whole thing up tomorrow. And trust me, it will not disappoint.